question from 2. Oh yeah, that's right. Let me just get this going here. The YouTube takes a second. Okay, so the first question is from Krishna Sevaka Prabhu. He says, it's kind of a long question. He says, please accept my humble obeisances, Guru Maharaj. I have been reading from your book, Circle of Friends. My understanding is that in the Prakat Lila that occurred on this planet, as described, Krishna and Balaram do many things outside of Vrindavan in various Vaibhav Prakash expansions. But in Vrindavan, Balaram is the only Vaibhav Prakash expansion. Upon the return of Balaram to Vrindavan, after being away for some time, both Krishna and Radha ask him to satisfy certain gopis who have fallen in love with him. That is Balaram. It appears to me that Balaram does satisfy the gopis from a place of quote-unquote seva to Krishna and Radha, rather than out of Madhurya. It appears that Balaram can express Madhurya in relationship with those gopis, and that it is indeed part of his emotional quote-unquote rasa combination, as well as neutrality that he expresses in Vrindavan in subtle ways like expanding himself as objects that Krishna uses. I imagine that if he can do all that in the Prakat Lila, that he can also be that way in the Aprakat Lila as Krishna desires. It seems that although Balaram is a Vaibhav expansion of Krishna, being his best friend, he is also our best friend here on earth by showing us how to let go of our separate self-centered desires by surrendering to Krishna's desire only. So my question is all this understanding in alignment with Shastra and our teachings, and can you elaborate?
Well, if I understand the question correctly, maybe an error in your thinking slightly, in
Parece haber un
that,
error en tu pensamiento y sería que
Balaram,
pensar que
first of all, we look at
Balaram,
Balaram
bueno,
through the lens of
primeramente
our own
vemos a Balaram
sampradaya,
a través
and
de la lupa de nuestro
we
sampradaya,
find consistently from the
del
founding
lente de
acharyas
nuestro sampradaya.
and
Y nuestros
from
acharyas
Vrindavan Thakur,
nos dicen,
Krishna's Kaviraj
Vrindavan
Goswami,
Thakur,
in their
Kaviraj Goswami,
texts,
consistentemente
Chaitanya
que
Bhagavad and Chaitanya Charitamrita,
en el Chaitanya Bhagavatam y
respectively,
Chaitanya Charitamrita,
Balaram is
que
constituted of Sakyarasa,
está constituido
and
por
that
Sakyarasa
Sakyarasa is combined together with
y
a hint
Sakyarasa
of
combinado
Vatsalya,
con
being the
una
older
pizca de
brother,
Vatsalya,
and
la que
also
es el
Dasya, and
hermano
Dasya is more
mayor,
prominent
y también
in
de
his
Dasya,
constitution outside of Vrindavan,
fuera de
in
Vrindavan.
Mathura and Dwarka.
En Mathura y Dwarka se ve más.
And obviously beyond that, in
Y
expansions
más allá
where
todavía,
he
todavía
accompanies
en expansión, en las
Vishnu
expansiones
as
que
Seish.
acompañan a Vishnu en cuanto a Ananta Shesha.
And so his romantic component,
Entonces,
if you will,
su componente
in his constitution is not
romántica
something that is
no
the
es algo
focus
que
of
es el
the
enfoque
Gaudiya Sampradaya.
del Gaudiya
It
Sampradaya.
is, and he doesn't have a romantic relationship with Krishna's gopis.
Y él no tiene
When
una relación
Balaram is
romántica
sent
con
by
las gopis
Krishna
de
to
Krishna.
Vrindavan
Cuando
to
Krishna envía a Balaram a
pacify the
Vrindavan
residents
para
and assure them of his
apaciguar los
return,
residentes,
he ultimately meets with the gopis as
él
well.
también se encuentra con las
And in the language
gopis,
there of the Bhagavatam, we find that he
y desde la
has
lengua del Bhagavatam
respect
entendemos
for the gopis Mahabhav.
que tenía algo de
He bows to
respeto
their
para el
Mahabhav,
Mahabhava de las
the
gopis.
witnesses. And we find this in Chaitanya Charitamrita also, when Nityananda Ram sees Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Ratha
También
Yatra.
lo vemos cuando Nityananda Prabhu
In his own
ve
vision,
a Chaitanya
Nityananda's
cuando
vision, take the
Nityananda
form
Prabhu
of
ve a
Radha,
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
is
en el
dancing,
Ratha Yatra y manifestando el bhava de
takes the
Radharani,
form of Radha. Krishna says through the pen of Krishnadas Kaviraj that Ami Shisha Guru Nata.
Kaviraj Goswami escribe que Krishna dice,
In dancing, Nata.
Krishna dice, yo
I'm the
soy el
Sisha,
discípulo de
and
Radharani.
he goes on to say, and
Ella me
Radha,
enseña a
Radha's
mí a
dancing
danzar.
is my guru. So in Ratha Yatra, we know that his
Entonces en
dancing
la
was
Ratha
so
Yatra
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so absorbed in the dancing that he entered
Vemos que
into the
Chaitanya
mood of
Mahaprabhu
Radha in the vision of
estaba tan
Jagannath
absorto
Swami, who was
en la
startled,
danza
stopped the
para
cart,
Jagannath. Jagannath se
moved.
quedó como
So witnessing this at a distance and understanding what was taking place,
no se podía
Nityananda
mover,
Prabhu paid the dandavats at
el
a
carro no se
distance
podía mover, y Nityananda Prabhu,
to
viendo todo lo que
Radharani. So
estaba
we find this
pasando,
also
se postró ante
when he
lo
speaks to the
que
gopis on behalf of
él
Krishna.
reconoció
They
como
have
Radharani.
great respect for him. It's expressed there as the older brother, and he has great awe and
Se dice
reverence
que
or
las
respect,
gopis
let's say,
tienen mucho respeto para
for
Balarama
their
en cuanto a hermano
Mahabhav.
mayor, y él tiene mucho
And he is
respeto para el
Sankarshan.
Mahabhav de ellas,
He is, which means
y
to
que
draw
él es
together.
Sankarshan,
So he's drawing together,
el que
in this
lo lleva
instance,
todo
by
junto.
drawing Krishna to the scene,
Entonces, ¿cómo lo hace Balaram?
making himself so surrendered to Krishna to represent him,
a
that the
Krishna
gopis begin to feel Krishna's
hacia la
presence
escena, al punto que las
in
gopis
Balaram.
empezaron
And
a sentir, a
some say that
percibir la
his
presencia de
complexion
Krishna en
changed
Balaram.
from
Y algunos dicen que la
whitish
tez,
to sham
la piel
at
de
that
Balaram
time.
cambió
But
de
this doesn't mean
clarita
that
a
Balaram
Shyam.
has a relationship with Krishna's
Pero esto no
gopis.
quiere decir que
He,
Balaram
on the other
tenía o
hand,
tuvo una
has
relación con las
his
gopis. Él
own
tiene
gopis,
sus
gopis
propios
who fell in
gopis
love with him during the
que
holy
se enamoraron de él.
Leela in Braj, and that is who Krishna is telling him to tender to. Radha's asking him to tender to them. Nanda Maharaj
Y
agrees,
Radharani y Nanda
and so
Maharaj
forth.
le pidieron a
And so
Balaram
he,
que se cuidara de
then
ellas,
the
que
Ram
cuidara
Ghat
de ellas.
Leela takes place where
Por
Krishna,
eso que
where Balaram
tenemos
meets
el
with those young
Ramaghat
gopis,
Lila, donde
and he
Balaram
drinks the Varuni beverage, he chastises the
se
Jamuna,
encuentra con esas gopis
and so on and so
jóvenes,
forth.
se emborracha con el Varuni,
These are different
y
gopis, and Bhaktisiddhanta
se
Saraswati
enoja con
Thakur
la Yamuna.
considers the relationship with these gopis to be Maryada. Maryada is another name for Vaidhi.
Se dice que este tipo de
Vaidhi
relación
Marg.
se llama Maryada.
So
Maryada es
there's
otro tipo de Vaidhi Marga.
rather than
Vaidhi
Raganuga.
Marga.
And
O sea que no es
we
del
don't
tipo
have
Raganuga.
any person, any gopi, for example,
Nosotros no
in that
tenemos
group
a
of
ninguna
Balaram's gopis
gopi
who
en
would
este
stand as an
grupo de
example that we
Balaram
could follow,
que tenemos como
which is what
ejemplo
Raganuga is
que
about.
podamos
Raganuga is
seguir.
about following the example of one of the
Raganuga quiere
associates
decir seguir el
of
ejemplo de
Krishna
los
in
asociados,
Braj.
¿verdad?
So it's not a Rag
Entonces,
Marg
como esta relación de Balaram con las gopis no es
destination, if
una
you will, to
de
become
Raga
a
Marga.
gopi of Balaram.
No hay ningún
But
destino
these
dentro de
are,
Raga Marga que
this is
incluya
an aspect of
tomar la
Balaram
forma
that
de
is
una
very
gopi de Balaram.
secondary, if you will, to the
Es un
focus
asunto muy
of the Gaudiya
secundario
Sampradaya on Balaram, whose Ragmarg
para el Gaudiya
sentiments
Sampradaya.
are all in
Los
relation to
sentimientos de
Krishna.
Raga
He
Marga que
is
se encuentran
the
en el Gaudiya
perfect
Sampradaya son
example of
toda
love
esa
of
relación
Krishna
con Krishna.
in Sakirasa. You could say the same about him in Vatsalya Rasa and Madhurya Rasa, that those all being part of his emotional composition. And at the same time that he's the perfect example of those ideals, he's also the object of love for Sakirasa at the same time. So he is perfect ideal and
de amor, pero también el perfecto objeto del mismo amor.
Sense the example of love, and he is the object of love as well. So we find in Krishna's cowherd pastime that sometimes he's taking the role of the object of love for the cowherd boys more than he's taking the role of being the ideal friend and the personification of
Él es el amigo ideal, pero también la personificación de ese amor.
When Krishna goes, for example, to Radhakund with some of his Namasaka
Cuando
friends,
va a
the rest of the boys stay with Balaram. There, he very much takes the role of being the object of love.
No son compatibles
when they're together, that also happens.
Se quedan con Balaram,
but
entonces Balaram se convierte en el objeto del amor en ese momento.
As the example, perfect example of love of Krishna in Sakirasa. So, por la mayor parte del tiempo, Balaram es un ejemplo de este amor, de la perfección del amor en Sakirasa para Krishna. Entonces, el lado Madhurya de Balaram as the bedstead of Krishna and other
Se ve cuando él se manifiesta, pero solo como forma de la cama de Krishna y muchos objetos que sirven para el Madhurya Rasa. Así como Ananta Shesh es el colchón, el sofá, donde Narayana o Vishnu se acuesta con Lakshmi, pero no se puede decir que Ananta Shesh tiene una relación romántica con Lakshmi, o que duerme con Lakshmi.
Some sectors within Gaudiya Vaishnavism from the Bengal side that have
Hay
tried
algunos
to
sectores dentro de los Gaudiyas en Bengal
such as to place Nityananda Prabhu prominently in Madhurya Rasa, but this is not
y tratan de meter a Balaram en el Madhurya Rasa a todo costo.
And so forth. So
pero no es esto lo que
them.
nos enseña
I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No sé si te
Please,
contesté.
if you're there,
Si estás allí,
Krishna Sevak, is it? You can reply, but I mean, I think this was maybe you missed this part from what I remember from your question.
Tu pregunta, por lo que me acuerdo, tu pregunta le faltaba este lado.
Of his
O sea, que me
own. He doesn't have
preguntaste que Balaram tiene gopis suyas,
relationship with
pero no tiene una
Krishna's
relación
gopis.
de
Krishna's
con
relationship with his gopis is parakiya.
Y la relación de Krishna con las gopis es una de parakiya, mientras la relación de Balaram con las gopis es de swakiya, o sea que están casados.
Krishna asks him as he heads, by the way, those girls, you know, that had a crush on
Krishna le dijo a Balaram,
you know,
estas gopis de las que te enamoraste durante Holi deberías cuidar de ellas. Y Balaram dijo, sí.
Radharani's fully pacified,
pero cuando volvió a Vrindavan,
but more so through Balaram's representation of Krishna than, for example, Uddhava was earlier on. But she says, nonetheless, but there are these other gopis who are, you know,
también hay estas gopis que están esperando. Y
if Nanda Maharaj, you know,
Nanda Maharaj me dice que lo haga.
Nanda Maharaj then says, so after Krishna, Radha, Nanda Maharaj insistence, then he goes and
después
has a Gandharva marriage
la insistencia
with
de Nanda Maharaj, de Krishna y de Radharani,
so his relationship with them is not parakiya. He's not going out, stealing out every night to meet with them.
No es que se encuentra por la noche de forma
very different. And the Maryada side, you know, of Balaram is not something that's the emphasis in our
y también en este lado del comportamiento de Balaram
other lineages
se define Maryada.
Emphasize that side in his relationship.
No es algo que nuestro sampradaya enfatice. Hay otros teorías, otros sampradayas que le ponen mucha más importancia en esta actitud.
You know, obviously, he's a multifaceted person, but we should focus on the focus of the lens of the Goswamis on Balaram.
Nosotros deberíamos ver a Balaram a través del lente de los Goswamis.
You're present here,
no sé si estás ahí.
Read your question, you wrote it out.
Porque como me leyeron tu pregunta, me imagino que no estás.
Comment or haven't really addressed your question, Charlie.
Entonces, no sé si contesté enteramente a tu
He's not present here today. He couldn't make it, but I'm sure he'll come back with the follow-up or something. So the next question is from Uddhava from Spain.
Va a preguntar si tiene más. La siguiente es de Uddhava de España.
I don't know the answer to that one.
Maharaj no está escuchando nada y dice, no tengo respuesta.
Uddhava, can you hear me?
Hello?
Okay, I think, let's see. I could probably unmute you here. Okay, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Sí.
Escucha, Maharaj.
I wanted to ask you, because one of the, I think a few months ago, there was an interview with Satyanarayan in the Namarasa podcast.
En el podcast de Namarasa.
And there he spoke about the Siksha Guru.
Y ahí habla,
but he spoke about the Siksha Guru in a very,
pero habló del Siksha Guru de una forma muy...
like, that is, you can only have one.
Que solo se puede tener a uno.
Siksha Guru and Diksha Guru you know, it must be the same.
Que Shiksha Guru y Diksha
More or
Guru tienen que
less,
ser
I
el mismo.
understand, you know,
Más o menos
what he's trying to
entiendo
say, but would you
lo que quiere
elaborate
decir,
more on the
pero
subject
podrías
and
elaborar más
how
en
you
este
will,
sujeto.
how you view this issue and how, you know, our acharyas in our line, you know, will balance the issue of the Siksha Guru?
Yeah, surely. Siksha Guru is a Gaudiya Vaishnava concept. You will not find this Siksha Guru concept anywhere else. When the Puranas mention the Guru, for example, when the Bhagavad Gita mentions Guru, for example, we don't find some differentiation between a Diksha Guru and a Siksha Guru. Siksha means instruction, so it's fairly obvious that
Shiksha quiere decir instrucción, entonces me
any
parece
guru
obvio que
we're going to
cualquier
take
guru
initiation from, we must have received
del que tomemos
Siksha
iniciación
from,
también nos va a dar
right?
Shiksha.
Instruction from, must have heard from him or her.
Tenemos que escucharle.
To divide these two,
Entonces,
this is a device
separar estos dos
that has arisen in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Now,
es algo que surgió en el Gaudiya Sampradaya.
The concept is emphasized to some extent in Chaitanya
El concepto es
Charitamrita,
algo que se enfatiza en
where
Chaitanya
the opening
Charitamrita,
line of the text is Vande Guru,
donde las primeras líneas son Vande Guru
Guru is in plural.
o sea,
It could be taken because the plural case is sometimes used for
alguien podría decir
reverence,
que el plural se
and it could
usa
be
para expresar respeto,
singularly
reverencia,
at the same time, but Krishnadas Kaviraj doesn't use it in that way. He
pero
uses it
Kaviraj
as
Goswami
plurality,
lo usa así,
and the
lo
plurality,
usa
if you will, of gurus
expresando esta
that he plays out is
pluralidad
the
de
Diksha
los
Guru,
gurus
Siksha Guru
que se
concepts.
manifiestan como
And he says there
Siksha
that the
Guru, Diksha
Guru
Guru.
and the
Y ahí
Siksha
dice
Guru
que
are
el
equal
guru,
in their spiritual
que sea Shiksha o Diksha, son
standing, but their
iguales
functions are different.
de punto de vista
So
espiritual, pero
the
la
function of the
función
Diksha Guru,
de
just
uno
if we just want to take
o del
away
otro es
Siksha and just leave
diferente.
Diksha, Diksha means the imparting of the mantra.
Diksha quiere decir el que da el mantra.
And of course, that same Diksha Guru, obviously,
El mismo Diksha Guru, por
through his
supuesto,
Siksha or her Siksha,
a
we're
través de
captured
su Shiksha,
and our faith is
ha capturado nuestra fe,
arrested and the mantra is imparted, and there'll be subsequent instructions
el
and so
mantra,
forth.
y hay más
But
instrucciones que
that there
siguen.
may be persons in
Pero
our
puede
spiritual life
haber
who
personas
serve
en
as
nuestra
Siksha
vida
Guru, as a
espiritual que
Siksha
sirven
Guru,
como Shiksha Guru.
although we've already been initiated. We don't receive the
Aunque ya
mantra from them.
tomemos
We
iniciación,
receive
no
Siksha
vamos a
from them,
recibir un mantra de
instruction.
este Guru, sino solo las
And
instrucciones, Shiksha.
it seems that this arose in the Gaudiya Sampradaya with an
Y eso
emphasis
es
on the
algo que
Siksha Guru
surgió en el
for
Gaudiya
the very
Sampradaya
reason that sometimes
por la
the
misma
Diksha
razón
Guru proved to be
de que a veces el Diksha
in some
Guru
respects
se demostró
lacking, but not to an extent that he or she should be disrespected or rejected.
demostró que
But the
tenía
lacking, nonetheless, is
que
made up
fallaba
for
en algunos
by way
sectores,
of
entonces no quiere decir que
Siksha Guru
hay que
who has
rechazar este
arguably
Diksha
greater
Guru,
standing
sino llenar o
in
rectificar
knowledge,
las fallas
in bhakti,
tomando
capacity
amparo
to
de la Shiksha
inspire
Guru.
us and so forth. And so this was a way in which the Guru
Esta
institution,
fue
if you will,
una
was
manera
preserved
de
rather than
institucionalizar
throwing it out because
el
somebody
sistema
didn't
para que no se rechazara un
measure up
Guru
entirely to the
totalmente,
ideal standards
porque el
of
Diksha Guru no,
what a guru means.
no cumplía
You have
con
to
el
understand that
estándar
we
al
have
100%
gurus within
de
the
lo que
Varnashram
debería ser
system
un
that are
Guru.
Brahmins that aren't Siddha Purushas and so forth. And so when it came to the founding of the Sampradaya on the part of
Cuando se
the
empezó
Siddha
a
Purushas, if
fundar
you will,
el
who were the
Sampradaya,
Goswamis, their successors were largely householders.
los Goswamis eran Siddha
It
Purushas
seems that the immediate
y sus
successors
sucesores
of the
eran
Goswamis, for the
devotos
most part,
casados,
being householders, adopted the surname of Goswami.
y como debido a eso,
Maybe not as a way
como
of
que
saying,
adoptaron
therefore,
se empezaron a
Goswami,
apellidar
in the
Goswami,
literal
no
sense
para
of the
decir
term.
yo soy un
My senses
Goswami
are
en el
fully
sentido
controlled,
literal,
but
que yo
we are the
tengo
followers of Jiva
dominio
Goswami.
sobre
We're
mis
the followers of
sentidos,
Rupa
pero como
Goswami.
soy
We're
el
the
seguidor
followers
de
of
Jiva Goswami, Rupa
Sanatana
Goswami,
Goswami. So our
Sanatana
name
Goswami,
is Goswami. So you
entonces
have
yo
these
también me voy a
Goswami
llamar
families,
Goswami.
Jati Goswamis.
Entonces empezaron a crear
So
estas
Jati
familias,
Gosai.
Jati Goswamis, o sea,
And
Goswamis de nacimiento.
can be a problem with that that, but then in that group there may be
esto
good
podría ser un problema,
representatives as well.
pero de todos
in
modos son
some instances.
representantes.
So, and we find that in the Sampradaya, but these householder disciples who took care
Pero
of the
estos
deities,
discípulos casados
Govindaji
de
and
los Goswamis que empezaron a cuidar
Madhamohan
las
and so
deidades de
forth,
Govindaji,
Radharamanji and so
Radharaman,
on, they formed certain,
formaron cierto,
well, they gave shape
bueno,
and more form
le dieron más
to
forma
what initiation involved,
a lo que es la
and so on, and they
iniciación.
developed different tilaks.
Empezaron a desarrollar
It's not that
diferentes tipos de
Gadadhar put on a
tilak.
particular tilak and Nityananda Prabhu appeared from the spiritual world with another tilak and Advaita with a
No es
different
que
tilak.
Gadadhar y
So
Nityananda
these
y
ideas were developed by
Advaita
by these
tenían cada
Goswami
un tilak
families
diferente, sino
later
que
on.
son
It's not a bad
innovaciones que
thing, but
hicieron
they were
estas
like
familias de
defining in
Goswamis
greater
herederos que
detail
empezaron
through
a
rules and
definir con más
regulations and
detalles
form,
a
giving
través de,
shape to and
reglas,
institutionalizing the line, the
empezaron a
lineage.
institucionalizar el linaje.
They employed these kind of ideas, so that by the time it came down to Bhakti Siddhanta, basically initiation was you got a letter, which was your Diksha Patra, and it said this on it.
Llegando a la hora a la época de Bhaktisiddhanta, el sistema era que debía haber una carta de recomendación y un cierto tilak y muchas cosas externas que definían lo que era ser un guru, ser un discípulo. Al mismo tiempo, tenemos a un grupo muy pequeño, como el de Gorkishore Das Babaji,
Jagannath Das Babaji, for example, type of nirapekshas, renunciates,
que eran nirapekshas,
they're giving diksha, they don't do all these
ellos
things.
daban diksha, no hacían nada de eso. Gorkishore Das Babaji no hizo nada de eso cuando le dio iniciación.
So in essence and substance, they conveyed what was required to be conveyed. They imparted what was required to be imparted, and so forth. So these are all relative. These type of
todo lo demás es muy relativo.
Measures. They're not necessarily bad things, but they're bad when they become thought of as you got to have it exactly like this.
Pero son malas cuando se empieza a pensar tiene que ser absolutamente, tiene que pasar de esa forma.
Going a little bit on a tangent, but what I'm speaking about is the whole phenomenon of Guru Tattva in Gaudiya Vaishnavism and how it's developed over the years.
Y así como se
desarrolló durante these Goswami families were all Brahmins.
Estas familias de
Brahmins are the caste within the Varnashram that serves as the guru. So,
entonces el Brahmana es el guru de la sociedad.
In that atmosphere of Varnashram world, social, religious norms and so forth.
Normas socio-religiosas.
The gurus in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, well, they should be
Brahmanas.
Ser
el guru en el Gaudiya Vaishnavismo? Bueno, los brahmanas, realmente.
But of course, as the teaching goes on, not necessarily. They may be fully qualified like Bharatan Thakur and not be a Brahman and be initiate widely. He was probably the first, to do that. And so forth. And many examples of that afterwards and so forth. So what I'm getting to add here is since forever in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, there have been gurus who are very, very deeply realized and qualified. And then there have been gurus who are not as deeply realized and qualified, but they're capable of passing on the instructions, they set a good example, and so forth. And in some instances, well, that latter group may be lacking in some ways. And there could be problems, and there are early texts that attest to the fact that some of the gurus, it's not a new phenomenon that the gurus were lacking in some way. And the way, to get to your point, that this was compensated for in Gaudiya Vaishnavism was, rather than to dismiss those gurus, to accept a Siksha guru. Unless in extreme cases of the gurus' departure from norms, standards, and so forth, it actually required rejecting him or her altogether, which that is also something that is addressed in the text in Bhakti Sandarbha and other texts. But by and large, the attempt was to try to preserve that, and the Siksha Guru was a way in which that could be preserved
Shiksha
and
Guru
the
era una
shortcoming
manera de
could be made up
preservar
for. We look at the life of
cualquier
Bhaktivinoda
falla
Thakur.
en el
Well,
carácter
his Diksha Guru could be
del
Bihari
guru que
Goswami.
inició, el guru iniciador.
I would say did not have the same spiritual standing as Jagannath Das Babaji, and Jagannath Das Babaji was the Siksha Guru of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and we find things in
Bihari Goswami y Jagannath Das Babaji Goswami, que eran el Diksha Guru y Shiksha Guru de Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Bhaktisiddhanta concludes he got it from Jagannath Das Babaji, so there's an emphasis there. In that instance,
Bhaktivinoda respected
Bihari Goswami and throughout his life and so forth. But it's apparent from the history at a certain point, his shelter, more substantially, became Jagannath Das Babaji. So,
a un cierto punto, el refugio más
this is how it all
importante de
developed
Bhaktivinoda Thakur era Jagannath Das Babaji.
Now, the Siksha Guru, I've said to you that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraj says they're equal spiritual standing. Their function is different only. So there's the real definition. However, the term Siksha Guru has also, over the centuries, been diluted, if you will, or its meaning expanded into a more general sense. Drawing on, for example, let's say the commentary of Jiva Goswami on
por ejemplo, el comentario de Jiva Goswami sobre
Bhagavatam,
el
11th canto,
creo que el
where
canto 11,
I forget the name, the sage says he has 24 different gurus. The river is my guru, the bee is the honeybee is my guru. They're all manifestations of the natural world, from the flora and the fauna and so forth.
Manifestaciones del mundo natural.
And Jiva Goswami says were his Siksha gurus. He learned from them. So there's a broad interpretation. So it was commonly thought, for example, in Gaudiya Math, after the passing of Bhaktisiddhanta, and several devotees emerged as gurus, and they were qualified and successful. You had Madhav Maharaj, you had Sridhar Maharaj, you had Keshav Maharaj. This is before my Guru Maharaj started his mission and so forth. They all had disciples, and their disciples interacted. They considered all Van Maharaj as my Siksha Guru, and Sridhar Maharaj is my Siksha Guru, and Madhav Maharaj is my Siksha Guru. Respectfully, in a broad sense. Another way of looking at it, kind of broad. Then there's the more specific sense, like discussed, mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita that I addressed first. This is my Siksha Guru, my substantial connection to the lineage lies here, and that Guru teaches me more, instructs me, sets an example, inspires me, and so forth. But probably what Satyanarayana Das Babaji was talking about is the fact that, the more usual situation is you have one guru. The guru is your Diksha Guru, and he's your Siksha Guru too, because you really can't be a Diksha Guru without giving Siksha. And so in the presence of the Guru, who is your Diksha Guru, he's also your Siksha Guru, and you probably would do well not to listen to this Babaji, that one, and that one, and pay attention to what your Diksha Guru is saying. Then you don't have to have get confused because someone else is saying it a little different over here, and they teach it a little differently over there, and then your guru has to take the trouble to say, well, okay, we do it like this, and so on. So in times gone by, you didn't have an internet to listen to Satyanarayana Das Babaji over here, or this one over there, or that one over there. You lived in a village, you had a guru, and you listened to your guru, and he was your Diksha Guru, and he was your Siksha Guru, and that's it. That's the normal situation. Probably Satyanarayana is talking, about that more. Now, it might be that in the absence of your Diksha Guru, who's fully qualified and so forth, after his passing from the world,
Cuando
or in
el
his
Diksha
absence due
Guru
to circumstances.
haya fallecido o cualquier
My
otra
God, Chutananda Maharaj
circunstancia.
was in India,
Por
he was there
ejemplo,
alone.
Achyutananda Maharaj
Prabhupada
se
was in
encontraba
America for
en
an
India
extended period
solo.
of time. He was feeling weak.
Prabhupada estaba en
He asked
Estados
if there was any
Unidos
Siksha Guru that he could,
y le escribió a Prabhupada, ¿hay
get
alguien que
guidance from in
pueda
Prabhupada's absence? And Prabhupada said, yes, you can go to Sridhar Maharaj, and
adaptar
that
con
would be
Shiksha Guru?
would speak of
Y
how you
Prabhupada
can
le
benefit
dijo, sí,
from him. I
puedes ir a
consider him my
escuchar
Siksha
de
Guru
Srila
myself. So he went, he
Bhagavad
spent 6-8
ni
months
hablar del
there
beneficio que
in the
podía
mod.
sacar tú.
So
Yo
there are
mismo lo
instances like
considero mi
that,
Shiksha Guru.
but that's
Entonces hay instancias de este
more
tipo.
uncommon. The common thing, I
Pero
think this is
eso
what
no es lo más
Babaji was
común. Lo más
emphasizing, is
común,
probably
que lo
the
que está
Guru
diciendo
is your Diksha
Satyananda
Guru, is your
Babaji,
Siksha
es
Guru,
que tu Guru es tu
that's
Diksha
that.
Guru y tu Shiksha Guru y nada más.
So,
No necesitas nada más.
Does that help?
¿Está bien?
Yes, because I see a common phenomenon, for that, because different devotees have many Siksha Gurus, so basically they pick and choose the Siksha Guru that says whatever they like the most.
That means they have no guru. Many gurus means no guru. One guru means many gurus. If you have one real guru,
si uno
then
tiene
you
un
have access
verdadero
to all the
guru,
gurus.
tiene acceso a todos los
In the
gurus.
parampara. But if you have many gurus, you have no
Si
guru.
uno
You have
se
only your
considera que
mind
tiene muchos
is
gurus,
the
no tiene
guru.
ningún
So,
guru.
good.
Fuera que su mente a lo
Good
mejor.
understanding.
Exactamente.
Sajan has a follow-up on this one.
Sajan tiene una pregunta.
Dandavats Maharaj.
Dandavats Maharaj.
You mentioned just now that
Acabas de mencionar que
Grihastha Goswamis gave initiation in a particular way,
los
and they even
casta
perhaps formalized or standardized it in a particular way,
de una forma particular,
but that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did not receive initiation from Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji in that way. Is it actually known the way in which Srila Bhaktisiddhanta received initiation from Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji?
Well, what we know is that he didn't receive a Diksha Patra. Patra means letter.
Hay forma de demostrar todo esto.
You get
lo
this
que sí
letter,
sabemos
and in the letter says,
es
you're
que
initiated, this
Siddhanta
is your
Saraswati
guru,
no
this is his
tenía
guru,
la
his guru, his
carta
guru, his guru.
de
And then
iniciación
besides the names of
donde
the gurus and the succession, going back to
se ve todo el
Nityananda
sampradaya,
Prabhu,
todo el parampara,
they would also give the
quién está a cabo de cada
guru's name.
paridara.
And
El guru dice, vas a ser parte de esta cadena discipular y tu swarupa va a ser esta. Entonces, en ese momento se pensaba que uno tiene que tener esta carta, porque si no, ¿cómo vas a estar iniciado?
5,000 years, well, that letter would be, a book of names, 10,000 years. So it's the practicality of that is
tampoco es muy práctico, porque en 5,000 años esta carta
so,
con la cadena discipular se va a convertir en un libro.
You have to wear this kind of tilak, you're not party bar, whatever. These things, what we know from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is that he said, my guru told me your swarup will be realized in the syllables of the Hare Krishna mantra.
Es lo que nos dijo él, que
That's
le
what he
dijo, mi
told
guru me
him.
dijo
Instead of your swarup is this,
tu swarupa se va la vas a realizar en las palabras del
He didn't do
Mahamantra.
that. He said, you realize your swarup.
Él no le dijo, tú eres tal gopi, te dices de este color, no le dijo nada de
as it
eso.
was the case in Bhaktivinoda Thakur, very strong emphasis on
Así
Harinam.
como pasó con Bhaktivinoda Thakur,
Once met
toda la
with
importancia
a
estaba en
godbrother of mine who
Harinam.
left Prabhupada's line and
Una vez
went outside.
me encontré con un
He's
hermano
known
espiritual
now
que había
as
dejado el
Prana. I
linaje
met him
de
once in we
Prabhupada y
were
ahora se
talking,
llama Gadadhar
and I
Prana en
emphasized
otro
this point to
linaje.
him that everything be realized by kirtan.
Le dije
Yes.
que todo
He
se
said maybe by
realizará
Lila Kirtan.
a través del Kirtan. Y él dijo, a lo
So I
mejor a
realized,
través
well,
de
he
Lila
doesn't really
Kirtan.
understand the efficacy of the name in which
Y
the
ahí
Lila
me di
is found.
cuenta,
and so forth.
no entiende la eficacia del nombre, el poder del
So
santo
you can't get
nombre.
around this point. And so that we know, and whatever else he receives between him and Gaurkishore Das Babaji. I often say, if you've got a complaint with Bhaktisiddhanta,
Lo que digo sobre la
what
iniciación,
he
que si era
received
oficial,
in the
que
name
si
of
es auténtica,
initiation, you should
es que
address it to Gaurkishore first.
Si uno tiene
Right.
alguna queja sobre la forma de actuar
the
de
affection
Bhaktisiddhanta,
of Gorky
deberíamos
Shore
quejarnos
Das
con Gorky
Babaji
Shore.
for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is
El
very
cariño de
palpable
Gorky Shore Das
and
Babaji
apparent
para
in the
hacia
testimony of
Bhaktisiddhanta
Keshav Maharaj,
es muy
who
tangible.
was once
En el
called,
testimonio de
along with
Keshav Maharaj,
other close persons who to try to help get Gorky Shore
una
Das
vez
Babaji Maharaj out of
Bhaktisiddhanta envió
an
a Keshav
outhouse that he had
Maharaj
locked himself in.
y otros
Not to be
devotos,
bothered by anybody, and he was
porque Gorky Shore
wailing
Das
out
Babaji
names
se
of
había
Krishna.
encerrado
So people tried to get him out
en los
for his
baños
own
públicos
sake,
y la gente
and they
quería
couldn't get him
sacarlo
out.
porque decía,
And
¿cómo va un sadhu a
when
estar
Keshav Maharaj,
cantando en este lugar tan maloliento?
Right.
Who Bhaktisiddhanta was initiating in the presence of Gorky Shore and in the presence of Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Y Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur tenía las bendiciones de Bhaktivinoda Thakur y de Gorky Shore Das Babaji para aceptar discípulos. Entonces, cuando se presentó Keshav Maharaj, le dijo que era un discípulo de Bhaktisiddhanta. Solo entonces Gorky Shore abrió las puertas. Y esta es solo una instancia. Algo que durante las décadas alguna persona trataron de descartar. E insisten con esto de dónde está el Dikshapatra, dónde está la carta de iniciación. A lo mejor lo tenía, pero no es esto que nos importa.
Yeah, I had no idea that Srila Keshava Maharaj met.
Sajan dicen, yo no sabía que Keshav Maharaj había encontrado Gorky Shore Das Babaji. Interesante. Gracias por compartirlo.
Maharaj ki jai.
Keshav Maharaj ki jai.
Next question.
Okay, the next question is kind of a psychological one from Harinam Das from Virginia.
Siguiente es
He
psicológica
says,
de
should
Harinam
we
Das
feel
Thakur de
bad
Virginia.
about having fear?
Nos
Does that
pregunta,
emotion hold us back
¿deberíamos
from returning to
sentirnos
Krishna?
mal
And
por
is
tener
fear more
miedo?
detrimental to bhakti than other material
¿Será
emotions?
que el
We should
miedo
have fear of deviating from Krishna consciousness.
es malo para el
We
bhakti?
should have
Como dice,
fear.
deberíamos tener
Dr. Prahlad Maharaj
miedo
expresses fear in the Bhagavatam,
a que nos
fear
saquemos
of
del
Maya,
sendero
that the power of
del
the
bhakti.
illusory energy might
Tenemos que
distract
tenerle
me.
miedo
And so I pray to Krishna
al poder de Maya
that I have the strength to not to be
y
distracted.
orarle a Krishna
So
que
a healthy
tengamos
fear of
la fuerza de
bad
no ser distraídos.
association and circumstances.
Entonces, un
power
miedo
of material
saludable.
nature. That if I think I have no fear of material nature, well, she's pretty big.
Si uno
and
piensa, no
pretty
le tengo
darn
miedo a la
powerful.
naturaleza
Just go
material,
stand
la
on the shore of the
naturaleza
ocean.
material es
What is
bastante
the
grande y
ocean
poderosa.
in the vat of on Earth in terms of the vastness of material nature? It's galaxies, universes, gases and winds and whatever. And the ocean is just a small sample of that. And it is so powerful that you just, it's
Si pensamos en la naturaleza material con todas sus galaxias,
that's what it does to me. The ocean is like, wow, that
planetas,
thing is
el
powerful.
océano mismo me hace pensar, es muy
so if you're not
poderoso, es
afraid of
una
the ocean,
expresión muy poderosa.
well, you should have a
Si
little
uno
bit
no
of
le
fear
tiene
of what
miedo
that thing
al
can do to you,
océano,
you know. I'll go ride the
debería
wave. Well,
tener
the wave
miedo
may have
de
another
lo que le
idea
puede pasar.
what it wants to do with you. And I've had that experience myself. So
Yo tuve
I
esa
have great
experiencia.
respect for the ocean
Le tengo mucho
and its
respeto al
waves
océano
and
y
her
sus
waves,
olas.
for example. So, you know, yeah, we wear Tulsi neck beads to protect us. So that
Nosotros
even other
tenemos
common
collares de
people will
Tulsi
remind
para
us of,
protegernos,
you know, of our commitment by
para
asking,
que
what are those
hasta la
nice beads
gente
on your neck?
común nos recuerde
And then you got to go, oh yeah,
de
well,
nuestro compromiso, que
right.
nos dice qué es lo que llevas al
And then
cuello,
you
y
have to
ahí,
explain yourself, and you have to
ahí
think,
tenemos que
so this is what
explicarnos
it's supposed to
y
do.
comportarnos de una cierta
Devotional
forma.
attire, devotional sangha, and so forth. So otherwise, yeah, you can be you know, what to do, you know. Now, you know, we may be on the precipice of a third world war, a nuclear blast, you
¿Qué
know,
vamos a hacer?
given the
Puede ser
Russia
que
and
estamos
Ukraine
cerca de una
situation and so forth. It's
tercera
very,
guerra nuclear aquí con Ucrania y Rusia.
a dangerous thing. Should we be afraid of nuclear war? Well,
No deberíamos
was
tenerle
addressed to
miedo a la
Marsh
guerra
said, what did he
nuclear.
say?
Schrödinger
World War
dijo,
III, let it be, or something like that.
la guerra
What can you
mundial,
do?
bueno,
You know, you
que
got to die.
ocurra. ¿Qué vamos a
I
hacer?
remember
De
we went
alguna
on a
forma
walk.
tenemos que morir.
I was on one of the walks of Prabhupada in
Estaba de
Mayapur,
paseo con Prabhupada en Mayapur.
and Prabhupada said, soon there may be war. You know, he was reading the papers,
y Prabhupada
seeing the
estaba leyendo
situation
los
with
periódicos y
Pakistan
dijo,
and India, and he thought,
puede que
this could
haya
this could break
guerra
out, and
entre
they're both
India y
nuclear powers.
Pakistán y
It'd
los
be a
dos
problem.
tienen
And so when he said,
armas
you know,
nucleares.
oh, there's so many devotees. Oh, Prabhupada, you know, what
Y todos
this
los
and that, and the
devotos
whole walk was
empezaron
kind of
a
about that.
alarmarse.
And we
Y
went out through
todo el
the rice
paseo era
field and so
sobre
forth
eso.
as he would, and back around towards the Mayapur temple. And
Cuando
I remember
llegaron al
Rameswar
templo,
was
en
saying,
Mayapur,
but
Rameshwar
Prabhupada said, well,
dijo,
preaching will be good during the war. You know, we will distribute prasadam and so forth. And then Rameswar said something like, but Prabhupada, you don't understand. They have these nuclear weapons, you know,
la prédica va a ser buena porque vamos a distribuir
on and on like this, you know,
Y
explaining
Rameshwar dijo, pero
the
Prabhupada,
danger of it
¿entiendes
and the
las
fear of
radiaciones, el
it,
peligro,
so
el
forth.
miedo?
And Prabhupada said,
Y
he
Prabhupada
just kind of
dijo,
stopped and said, you have to die.
y
You
dijo,
know,
tenemos que morir
that's going to happen some way or another. That's a given, you know.
de una
So
forma
like,
u
let's just
otra.
move on here, you know, and then just on to the temple we went, you know, greeted by the Sankirtan. So
Y de ahí nos
I think
fuimos
we
al
have to
templo
put,
y
you know, the
hicimos
dangers
Sankirtan.
of life, if you will, and the thing that really is driving the fear of the jiva, the fear of not being, that's a reality. You're not going to be what you think you are, which is what you're not. This body,
El tema es el mismo.
this
El
body-mind
jiva tiene
complex
miedo
is not what you are. That
a la
is
muerte porque
on
tiene
death
miedo
row.
al ya no existir,
It's already been
sin
sentenced.
saber que siempre existirá.
And so, but you can get out. So that's the teaching. So I you know, otherwise, I mean, yeah, you might be fearful of something that is going to happen to your children, or something happen to one of them, or your pet, or you have to put those things in
Uno puede tener miedo a que le pase algo a los críos, a las mascotas, pero uno tiene que tener cuidado que este miedo no le suba a la cabeza.
In Krishna consciousness at the same time, and I've explained that. A healthy fear of
el mejor miedo que podemos tener es un miedo saludable al poder de la naturaleza material que nos puede distraer.
My present condition, which is overall a fearful one. This is the all-pervading.
Nuestra condición en general es una de miedo. Este es el sentimiento que pervade todo el universo. El problema de la naturaleza material es el miedo. Aún más que el deseo sexual, y sabemos lo fuerte que es el deseo sexual. Pero el miedo es aún más fuerte. Esto es lo que este mundo es. Entonces deberíamos tomar refugio en Abhay Charanaravinda, él a cuyos pies no hay miedo.
I had a quick follow-up. So it seems like a lot of devotees nowadays have trouble kind of like ascertaining what is healthy fear and what goes too far. And so they like swing from one end of the pendulum to the other. So what is exactly like healthy fear of Maya for somebody who lives in the world but wants to be a serious devotee?
A Maya para un devoto.
Well, I think that fear would be expressed by
este miedo se expresaría
a consistent and regular commitment to the practice. It can be, it's a motivating factor. It's negative. It's a motivating factor.
Tomemos con la práctica.
Now, fear,
que nos
duty,
motiva,
these are not prospect. These are not
el miedo, el deber,
motives
no son,
drive Raganuga Bhakti.
No son lo que motiva Raganuga Bhakti.
Ajata Ruchi, not driven by the Ruchi that characterizes Raga Bhakti. And so it's
esas son condiciones muy débiles que no están guiadas por el Ajata Ruchi.
Ideal to attain, you know, the Rag Marg in Braj Bhakti, but you know, fear is going to be there, prospect is going to
Pero
be
el miedo,
there.
sin embargo, está ahí.
In terms of, I'm doing
en
this
el devoto promedio,
my prospect, because
en el
scripture
devoto
says it's the right thing to do, duty.
Normal y corriente, siempre va a haber miedo en el principio.
I think that just as an aside, you know, that's going to be there. But I think that to answer your question, again,
Pero para
that,
contestar a tu
the
pregunta,
healthy way that fear would be expressed
lo que
would
yo
be
llamo
in
miedo
applying oneself,
saludable sería
seriously and in a regulated way to those things that protect me from becoming distracted.
adoptar de forma seria las cosas que me protegen
Makes sense.
de estas
Yeah.
distracciones.
Okay, the next question is from
La
Madan
siguiente
Mohan from
pregunta
Brighton,
es de
UK.
Madan Mohan de Brighton, en el Reino Unido.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Guru
So,
Maharaj.
my question,
Mi
it comes
pregunta
from a sentence in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada's Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, but it's
viene de
something
una
I've also seen
oración
in,
del Señor Chaitanya.
sometimes in Bhakti Vinod Thakur, I think maybe Krishna Samhita.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur también
So I'll
dice
just
en
read
Krishna
the
Samhita, te la voy
sentence
a leer.
in particular. He's speaking about rasa and kind of like rasa in a sense of progressions through rasas. So he says in the fourth stage,
Dice que
called
en el cuarto
Vatsalya-rati, the fraternal
estadio
affection
de
evinced in the
raza que se
preceding
llama
stage
Vatsalya-rati
develops into parental affection. And so obviously, generally the teaching isn't there's like a development, but rather that, you know, like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you know, everyone's got a particular love, if you
yo
will.
demasiado
So I
rápido,
was
pero la
just wondering if you
pregunta
had
es,
any insight why there's
normalmente,
some cases, not in their overall teaching, but Prabhupada and Bhakti Vinod Thakur, they kind of have this idea of kind of progression through the rasas, if you will.
a veces se habla
I
de
don't think they're really,
esta progresión a través de las razas. Guru Maharaj dice,
teaching that.
no creo que
there.
te están enseñando
But
eso.
what they're talking about
Lo que
it
están
in a
diciendo es
particular way
que,
in which it sounds like that.
que,
But
que
what they're
parece,
saying is exactly what Rupa Goswami says, that in Shantarasa, for example,
por
there
ejemplo,
are
en
two
Shantarasa
prominent features.
hay
And
dos
if we go to
características
Dasya Rasa,
principales.
those
Si
two
vamos a
prominent features of
Dasya Rasa,
Shantarasa are present in Dasya
estas
Rasa, but something
características
more is
están
present.
presentes, pero también algo
Then
más.
if we go to Sakyarasa,
Si vamos a
those
Sakyarasa,
features that
se
are
encuentran las
present
características
in
de
Dasya Rasa
Dasya
are present, and something more
y
is.
Shanta y
So
algo
there's
más.
progression
Por eso se dice
in
que
that sense.
hay
And
que hay
and I think
progresión.
in one place Prabhupada wrote about it. I think he quoted Bhakti Siddhanta, and it sounds like you're going to develop Shantarasa, and then you're going to progress.
Entonces parece que uno primero desarrolla Shantarasa, luego Dasya y luego Sakya,
so forth.
y finalmente llega al Madhurya Rasa, pero
there is a wealth of teachings to the contrary in this
hay un
regard.
montón de
Save and except for
enseñanzas que
Shantarasa,
demuestran lo
which is a
contrario.
position that is not
Excepto tal vez
emphasized in
el
Gaudiya
Shantarasa,
Vaishnavism and
que
is
es
thought to be
algo que no
a
enfatiza
rasa
mucho
from which
nuestro
through
sampradaya,
association one could
y se dice que es una
develop further
raza a través
by
del cual uno
association
puede
with Dasya
desarrollar
Bhaktas or Sakya Bhaktas.
más
Shantarasa Bhakta could
a través de la
develop. We could
asociación
look
con
at maybe,
devotos
and
que sean en
Shantarasa
Dasya
is a broad
Bhakti,
topic, the different types of
etc.
Shantarasa, different degrees of it, and so forth.
También hay diferentes tipos de
I think in
Shantarasa.
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, even
En el
Jiva
Bhakti
Goswami might
Rasamrita
even
Sindhu,
cite Sukadeva
Jiva
Goswami as an
Goswami,
example of something,
citando
and
a
then he
Shukadeva
became
Goswami,
developed, beyond that. So anyway, other than that possibility,
demuestra como
within
Shukadeva
Shantarasa,
Goswami
one who
como que
develops
se
the
pasó de nivel.
defining emotion in Dasya Rasa, the Sthayi Bhav. Sthayi means permanent, right?
El
Fixed
Sthayi Bhava,
bhava.
la
This
emoción
is the bhava around
permanente,
which the other bhavas
es el Bhava alrededor del cual todos los otros Bhavas
form, and together
se forman,
the composite of these
y juntos,
is what we call Bhakti Rasa. In this case, the Bhakti, you have
todos juntos
the,
es lo que llamamos Bhakti Rasa.
the Dasya Rati.
Dasya Rati,
There's the Rati
se encuentra
of
Rati
Dasya, which means the
de
Sthayi
Dasya,
Bhav
o sea que el
of
Sthayi
rasa.
Bhava
But
de
until
ese
that
rasa,
Bhav is developed
pero hasta que se
through spiritual
desarrolle
practice,
este Bhava a través de
in
la
higher
práctica
stages,
espiritual,
such that it's bundled together with the other, the Vibhav, Anubhav, Sanchari Bhav,
se encuentra
and so forth.
mezclado con
Then it's
los
not
otros Anubhavas y
Dasyarasa.
Sanchari Bhava, y no es
It's
Dasya Rasa
Dasyarati.
de por sí,
Dasyarati
sino
leads
solo
to
Dasya
Dasyarasa.
Rati.
The Dasyarati doesn't lead to Vatsalyarati. And Vatsalyarati doesn't lead to Madhuryarati or Sakyarati, and so on and so forth. Therefore, those rasas don't change.
Un rasa no lleva al siguiente.
The rasa itself is the development of the rati.
El rasa
Rati is another
es
name for bhav.
un desarrollo
These terms have
de
different,
rati. Rati es un sinónimo de bhava.
different instances and so forth.
En diferentes contextos estas palabras tienen diferentes significados.
But anyway, attaining bhava,
Pero lograr el
when that's
bhava,
churned, it turns into rasa. And bhava means here asthayi bhav.
cuando uno desarrolla el bhava se
So
convierte en rasa. Y este
what's
bhava
churned
es
then
sthayi bhava.
is the sthayi bhav. The sthayi bhav is thought to be like an ocean.
El sthayi bhava es
And
como
from
un
the
océano.
ocean,
Del océano,
water is evaporated, it turns into clouds.
el agua
and it comes
evapora, se
back
convierte
down
en
into the
nubes
ocean
y
in the form
luego
of rain,
llueve
and it causes the ocean to swell.
y causa
So when you
el
develop
hinchamiento
sthayi
del
bhava for
océano.
Sakyarasa,
Entonces, cuando
that's like
desarrollamos
the
un
ocean.
sthayi bhava para
And then as it's
Sakyarasa,
cultured
esto es como el
internally,
océano. Luego se cultiva
the water of the
internamente
ocean is evaporated into the clouds in this analogy, and the rain is the other bhavas coming down. Now you have all of them
y los
together,
otros bhavas son como la lluvia
that particular sthayi bhava, causing the ocean to
que
go to high
hacen que
tide
nuestro propio
for
sthayi bhava
tsunami
crezca y se hinche,
of bhakti rasa, right?
se cree un tsunami de
and
bhakti rasa.
so, you know, where's the scope? You've attained bhakti rasa of Sakya. You are a cowherd, boyfriend of Krishna. Are you going to turn into a mother?
Llegado
Krishna, turn into a gopi of Krishna?
al bhakti rasa de Sakya,
No, that's
luego que
not
de repente,
so I just think
conforme va haciendo progreso, se
there's,
convierte en una gopi mayor, porque tiene vatsalya rasa para Krishna de repente.
There's something to be said about writing and something to be said about editing. There are different types of editing.
Algo es escribir y algo es editar.
To have an editor.
Es muy útil tener un editor.
Different types of editors.
Muchos tipos de editores.
Guru Maharaj, you said this over here, and over here, 500 pages later, you're saying it like this.
El editor puede decir, Guru Maharaj, dijiste esto y 500 páginas después dices esto y que parece ser una contradicción, entonces se lo puedes explicar porque la gente puede quedarse confundida. Yo sé que no estás confundido y el Guru dice, ya, es verdad. Gracias a tu ayuda de editor lo voy a corregir para que sea más claro. Ese es un fenómeno moderno.
Prabhupada had editors.
Prabhupada tenía editores
right?
Antes que nadie más.
But Prabhupada's editors were copy editors at best.
Pero los editores de Prabhupada corregían el texto, el inglés, pero seguro que no conocían el tema lo suficiente bien para decirle a Prabhupada que corrigiera algo a nivel filosófico.
Differently than the Goswamis. I know you're not, so maybe you could, write that paragraph, that kind of a thing.
Nadie le dijo a Prabhupada, esto que acabas de decir parece en contradicción a lo que dicen los Goswamis, entonces si lo puedes poner con otras palabras, nadie le podía ayudar a Prabhupada de esa forma.
Now we, in our tradition, hopefully, we have that. I mean, that's part of writing in the modern world, which is a, effort to communicate, right? So this is going to be the case.
Hoy día en nuestra tradición sí tenemos esto.
If you had an editor here, you could find in the works of Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami.
Podemos ver en las palabras de Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, que algunas cosas podrían haberse dicho de forma mejor, pero también la gente a que estos libros estaban dirigidos también era diferente. Yo me acuerdo un párrafo en un comentario de Srila Prabhupada en Chaitanya Charitamrita,
maybe the 7th chapter of Adi Lila.
Adi Lila 7,
when he's describing the
donde describe los asociados.
Pandit. There's a purport like that, and Prabhupada citing Bhaktisiddhanta, and I think it sounds like that. That's how they're not contradicting such a central point of the philosophy given by Rupa Goswami with regard to the permanence of a particular rasa upon attaining. Does that help?
No está claro lo que dijo algo sobre Gadadhar Pandit.
Sajjan has a brief follow-up.
Maharaj,
Sajan dice,
would Uddhava be an ideal
se
example
podría
of
decir que
someone
Uddhava
within
es un ejemplo
whom
ideal
all the
alguien
rasas of
dentro de quien todas las
Shanta and
razas,
Dasya and Sakya be
Shanta,
present
Dasya
in
y
his
Sakya se
relationship with
pueden
Krishna?
encontrar en su relación con Krishna.
Uddhava, his emotional
Guru Maharaj dice,
spiritual composition is
la composición
Dasya
emocional de
mixed with
Uddhava es una
Sakya,
de Dasya Ras mezclada con
mixed with
Sakya.
Sakya. And we find when he was sent to Braj, he became attracted to the
Vimos que cuando
Right.
él llegó a Braja
Now,
se encontró atraído
this is an instance in
por
which the
el amor de las
Sakya
gopis.
in his composition
Esta es una
was
instancia
prominent.
de su
And
Sakya
he even reached what's called pranay.
que había llegado al estadio de
In
Pranaya
Braj.
en Braja.
And the Sakya rasa is compatible, or Madhurya rasa is compatible
Y
with that.
Sakya Ras
So,
es compatible con
in
el
that
Madhurya
situation,
Rasa,
there
este tipo
may
de
be
Sakya Rasa.
devotee in a prominent rasa, a primary rasa, becomes attracted to another primary rasa manifested in another devotee, or as it manifests in Krishna. There are different ways in which it could happen. Those are two prominent ways. And then, because that's a
Entonces a
compatible
veces
rasa,
algunos devotos se ven atraídos por
one's attraction
otras
to it. Let's say you're in
manifestaciones
Sakya
de
rasa,
amor para
you're
Krishna.
attracted to Krishna's Madhurya rasa, how it affects him.
Entonces por
Then
eso
that
vemos
Madhurya rasa
cómo se
becomes
quedó afectado Uddhava.
a kind of an assistant rasa to your Sakya rasa, like
Entonces los otros
adding honey
razas
to
forman
yogurt.
como se convierten en asistente a
Sakya is the
nuestro raza
yogurt,
personal.
and you're
Sería como
attracted to a compatible
agregarle miel
and
al
it
yogur.
has an influence of sweetening the Sakya rasa.
Dulcifica el
doesn't
yogur que
replace
ya
it.
tenemos, pero no lo reemplaza.
Now, if you have an incompatible rasa, then it can
Si
cause
tenemos un raza
to-
incompatible,
Curdle.
yeah, the curdle.
esto hace que el yogur se corte,
Something like that,
dice Sajan.
to be diminished in its
Sí, dice Gumarch, la raza se va
in
a
its influence.
disminuir.
So this is a complicated aspect of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
Entonces es un aspecto complicado del Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Lo que es el mezclarse de los razas.
What else?
Okay, the next question is from Anadi Krishna from Poland.
Anadi Krishna de Polonia dice:
Dandavats Maharaj to you and to devotees. My question is,
mi pregunta
in
es, no te escucho, dice Maharaj.
And now, do you hear me? No?
Anadi Krishna, I can hear you. Did you go to the English and click on English at the bottom?
May I read to you and you?
Yeah, we can do it like that.
In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, as it is, Srila Prabhupada writes that the living entity
Ahora la
is
está
prone to
leyendo
control
al
because
Gurunista porque
this
Guru Maharaj no
quality
la
is
escucha,
present
pero
in
está leyendo a la
Krishna.
velocidad
So
de
is
la
there
luz.
Krishna conscious control, and how does it relate to Sharanagati when we are fully dependent on Krishna?
So Anadi Krishna is saying in the beginning, I think it's an introduction to the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Prabhupada says that the living entities are prone to control, or wanting to control, because that's an aspect of Krishna. So he's asking if there's a Krishna conscious way of trying to control things.
Yes, you have to
Tienen
control
la
your senses.
tendencia a controlar. Entonces hay una manera consciente de Krishna de controlar a los demás. Guru Maharaj dice, sí, ponte a controlar tu propia mente. Y dile a tu mente que no está en control.
I mean, you could use the controlling, tendency, if you will, let's say.
Pero no, uno podría usar la tendencia a controlar, digamos, en un sentido de misionero, para administrar una misión. El grihasta tiene que administrar su casa, sus niños, y controlarlos de una forma. Entonces esto
that
En un ámbito consciente
overall
de
tendency can
Krishna
be
sería una forma de
applied
controlar,
in Krishna
como
consciousness.
administrar.
But even primarily, you do have to control
Pero
your own mind. That's a
principalmente
huge
lo que
task
tenemos
right
que
there,
hacer es
right?
controlar nuestra
Control your
propia mente.
senses.
Esto ya de por sí es
And again,
algo
your children, your pets,
casi imposible. Pero no, en lo más pequeño, en escala más
you
pequeña
can't
tenemos
function
nuestras
without controlling,
mascotas, nuestros
right?
niños.
You can't
No
move
se
the
puede
world out of
funcionar
control. That wouldn't be Krishna
sin
consciousness.
control.
Right?
No se puede
So some measure
vivir
of
en el
control
mundo
is
sin
going to be
control,
part
porque
of
eso
Krishna
tampoco es
conscious life
consciente de Krishna.
as well. But yeah, there is a neurotic, problem with
Pero
having to
sí,
control
hay
everything.
un problema
Keep
neurótico
everything under
con
control.
esto de tenerlo todo bajo
That's a
control.
psychological issue that
Es
if
un
anyone
problema
is suffering
psicológico,
from that, or
que
if
si alguien
others
está padeciendo
in your company
este problema,
are suffering from that,
o los alrededor de esta persona
there's ways in
también
which
sufren.
I'm sure from a psychological point of view that can be toned down, dealt with, normalized.
Entonces, desde
so
el punto
forth.
de vista
So
psicológico, esto es algo que
that's a brief
debería,
answer.
digamos,
Hope it helps.
habría que reducirlo. Eso no es la respuesta corta. ¿Está bien?
Anything else?
¿Algo más?
Sorry, Gormash, I was muted. So Bhakta Craig has a question from Brighton.
Bhakta Craig también tiene una pregunta de Brighton.
Okay, maybe you can do this last one.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. If Guru is captain of the ship
Si
and
el guru es el
God brothers and God
capitán
sisters
del
are
barco y los hermanos y hermanas
the
espirituales son
crew, how
la
important is it
tripulación.
to kind of assess who the crew when we're choosing Guru?
Es importante considerar la tripulación a la hora de escoger el guru.
Well, it depends, I think.
Bueno, depende.
For myself,
Para mí,
obviously, I learned
yo aprendí
about Prabhupada
sobre
through
Prabhupada a través
the service of his disciples,
del servicio de sus
who were introducing
discípulos,
him
que
to
me
the
lo
world.
presentaron,
The vast,
que lo presentaron a todo el mundo,
99.9% of the devotees
así
was the
como
case. Some of them had him first
99.99%
before
de los
many other
devotos
devotees.
primero
But at
se
the same
pusieron en contacto
time,
con los discípulos y luego con
and I
Prabhupada.
was, in those days, I was inspired by their example. I thought, I want
Y entonces yo estaba muy inspirado por el ejemplo de los discípulos de Prabhupada.
become enlightened was my ideal.
Mi ideal era
And I
el
wanted a
de
guru,
llegar a la
and I
iluminación
felt
y
these
quería
people
un
were
guru.
like serious. They were shaving
Y
their
pensé,
heads,
esta
wearing
gente es
orange robes and
seria,
stuff,
se
And
resuran
they
en
were
la
like,
cabeza,
they're for real,
o sea,
that
lo hacen en
inspired me.
serio. Esto me dio mucha
But
inspiración.
at the same time, when
Al
I
mismo tiempo,
took initiation from Prabhupada,
cuando recibí iniciación de Prabhupada,
or even before I did, when I was,
o aún antes,
I had joined about 3 months before I got initiated
3 meses antes
in
de
the
la
mountains,
iniciación,
and
me
Prabhupada was
había
in India at the time.
juntado
And then when he came to
a unos devotos a
Los
las
Angeles, we went
montañas,
down there and initiated me.
y cuando él llegó
But,
a Los
anyway,
Ángeles,
at that
fui
time, in
allá y
that
me inició.
period, I somehow other, I don't know why, but it just
En
came to
ese
me, and I
periodo,
made a conviction like this, that even if everybody else leaves
llegué a la,
this, gives this
a la
up, I'm never giving
convicción,
this
no sé
up.
por qué, pero
This is
yo me dije que si todos
my
los demás
conviction was based
van a
on
dejar esto, yo no me voy a quedar.
not only the example of the devotees, and not
Y mi convicción
only the example of
no,
Prabhupada, which I had little experience of.
no era
I'd met him
debida
yet,
al ejemplo de los devotos
but it
ni al
was
de
from my own
Prabhupada, que
experience.
todavía no
I
había
had my
conocido,
own experience
sino mi propia
practicing,
experiencia, practicando,
even before meeting Prabhupada,
aún
that
antes de
confirmed to me
encontrar
that
a Prabhupada.
I'm never giving this up. This is
Esta
out of this
práctica
world
me dio la
experience.
experiencia, de
Now,
que, la
everybody
convicción
may
que
not have that. I kind of hit the ground.
esto no lo voy a dejar,
running,
eso
if
es
you
de
will.
otro mundo.
But I experienced ecstatic symptoms before meeting Prabhupada.
O sea, yo
It wasn't
tuve
outside of before knowing
síntomas
about Prabhupada,
de
but knowing
éxtasis
about him and following the
antes de
practices
encontrar a
that
Prabhupada,
his
no
own
fuera
disciples taught, which he had taught
no
to
fuera
them.
de la asociación de Prabhupada, pero antes de
Accepting
encontrarlo
him as my
físicamente.
guru,
Lo
before I
había
was initiated and
aceptado
so
como
forth.
mi guru en mi corazón.
I had it was my experience that caused me
Y ya tuve esta experiencia.
Come to that conclusion. I didn't have any reason to think like that necessarily. And many years later,
no tenía ninguna razón
the leader of the Los
para
Angeles
tener esta convicción. Y luego, años
was a very good
después,
lecturer and a very sober type of person.
un líder entre los discípulos de Prabhupada.
I was sent to Australia to teach the devotees.
Yo estaba en Australia enseñándoles a los devotos. Prabhupada me invitó a ir a la India. Cuando yo estaba en Australia, este líder bajo quien yo me crié devocionalmente dejó la misión. Y él era un ejemplo de esto que yo pensé, que si todo el mundo va a dejarlo, yo me voy a quedar. Yo me quedé espeluznado. ¿Cómo pudo irse él? Pero yo estaba bien enraizado en mi práctica y convicción. A pesar de los puntos teológicos y los detalles,
because he left, I didn't suddenly start to think maybe I am this body.
No es que porque él dejó el movimiento yo empecé a pensar, entonces a lo mejor sí que soy de cuerpo.
Maybe there isn't God,
a lo mejor no hay Dios.
Not real,
a lo mejor Prabhupada tampoco es real.
Non-issues. That's not the kind of question that arose out of that.
So
I naturally thought about such things philosophically, and I thought, well, I guess, yeah.
Naturalmente me puse a pensar de forma filosófica.
Philosophically, why that might be the case, and so on and so forth. And they went on in time. Well, it happened more times, and there were many disconcerting examples.
Y luego con el tiempo pasó mucho más y más que gente dejara y que se revelara como decepción.
They didn't. The vast majority, wasn't like that. They were supportive and followers and so forth. Now, over time, after
la mayoría de los devotos eran buena gente y buen ejemplo.
Many of my God brothers and God sisters haven't got good association, and they really need it. And
muchos entre mis hermanos y hermanas espirituales no tuvieron la asociación que necesitaban y no están teniendo la experiencia de la conciencia de Krishna que deberían tener después de todos estos años.
And so forth. But so your situation is understandably a little different, and so on. But I think what I've said may be useful by way of an answer as well. I would say, in short, yeah, to some extent.
Pero para contestarlo de una forma más corta, sí.
It's also not a
hasta un
social
cierto
club. I like this
punto.
person, I like that one.
Pero tampoco es un
I'll join because it works for me socially.
Es un
That's
club
not gonna work for
social
you
que, me gusta la atmósfera,
in the long run.
hay buena gente aquí, entonces me voy a
Knowing
juntar.
people, in my experience, takes a long time to really know someone. Really know
En mi
someone.
experiencia, uno tarda muchísimo para verdaderamente,
But
para
I mean, you have a
realmente
favorite
conocer a
group of
alguien.
people who inspire you to, hear from their guru. I mean, we shouldn't definitely take a
Pero si uno encuentra un
initiation
grupo
from a
de
guru because it's the
devotos
thing
que
to
le
do in the
inspiran,
group
bueno,
I like the people in the group, they're all
por
doing it, so
cierto,
I'll do it too.
uno no debería tomar
that would be,
iniciación porque
a way to
todos
err
nuestros
in
amigos
terms of
lo
what
están
they're
haciendo,
passing
entonces yo
about.
también voy a tomar
The fact that
iniciación
they
de
are
esta
an
persona.
inspiration,
Sino
would
que
be
porque nos
certainly,
dieron, sacamos
positive.
inspiración.
But I think that was your question about accepting a guru and how much
La pregunta era sobre aceptar el
It's how
guru.
much the God brothers and you should let your God brothers and God sisters influence how you chose the guru, because
Sí,
obviously
o sea, sobre,
the God brothers and God sisters are going to be a reflection of the guru.
Yeah, to some extent.
se dice que los discípulos son un reflejo del guru, entonces si sus discípulos se portan de cierta forma que no nos cae bien, quiere decir que el guru no es para nosotros.
Accepting a guru is something you have to do yourself.
Guru
You
Maharaj
have to think
dice,
it out.
bueno, lo que
And you have
haces
to
cuando aceptas
compare
un guru es
with
algo
all
que
the people
tú
that brought
haces.
you to it. The person
No
that
lo puede
taught you
hacer
about
nadie
it
más por ti.
in the bar who was
Es
drunk,
algo que
who was
sientes
a
en el
devotee.
corazón.
You know, for example,
Y
I've seen things like that happen. You know, or the person who taught you about it later on may turn out not to be a
porque
good
yo vi
example. You
muchas
can't
veces que la persona
learn from
misma
him or
que te
her.
convenció
Prepared for that to happen
a
too.
aceptar un cierto guru,
So your
pasar
faith
un
in the guru
tiempo,
should not be
él
dependent
tampoco es,
upon that.
ya no es
Hopefully
devoto él
we'll be
mismo.
supported by that, and that support
Entonces, ¿qué?
will remain.
Thank you very for your insightful, very insightful answer.
Okay, glad I could help.
Bueno, gracias por tu
So I think we have some more
respuesta.
questions, but we're
Hay más preguntas,
over time
pero
already,
no
so
pasamos del tiempo,
forgive me for
¿verdad?
being long-winded on some of the questions. We didn't get everybody's
Perdóname si tardé
answered
demasiado,
everybody's question today, but
pero
next week
vamos a
I'll be
contestar.
in North Carolina.
La semana
and,
que viene voy a estar en Carolina del Norte, en
I
realidad.
think on Sunday there's the Vyasa Puja celebration day before Gaur Purnima, and I think that will be
El
broadcasted
domingo
in place of
vamos a
this, and
tener
there
el
will be
Vyasa
questions and
Puja, el
answer
día
period in
después
the
de
evening as
Gaura
well.
Purnima.
So hopefully, whatever they
Y
arrange out there, I'll be available again on
espero
Sunday.
que
Yeah,
cualquier
we'll be
cosa
free
haya
at the same time.
se va a
So
poder
see you then.
transmitir.
Jai. Gaur
Entonces me
Premanandi.
van a ver ahí.
Haribo.
Bueno,
Shri
nos
Guru
vemos la
Maharaj ki
semana
jai.
que viene. Shri Guru Maharaj ki jai, dice
So
Guru
a quick announcement. Like Guru Maharaj mentioned, there's a Guru Maharaj is eavesdropping.
Here.
Oh, you're looking at who's there. I'll let you.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Bueno, los anuncios de
So
siempre sobre Gaura Purnima
there's
y todo.
4 lectures